Bonsoir tout le monde et bienvenue. Welcome to this Coffee Break French webinar. We are going to be, let me press a button here there we go. We are going to be looking at a particular topic in French grammar today, and that is indirect object pronouns. Now, this is a special webinar aimed at intermediate learners of French, and we're going to be focusing on that one grammar topic, indirect object pronouns, giving you some examples, helping you understand what an indirect object pronoun is, and hopefully how to use them too. Now, this is coming from our Masterclass course, and I'll be telling you a little bit about the Masterclass a bit later on. But what I want to know, first of all, is where you're watching, and also let us know how long you've been learning French for. We are broadcasting tonight, or today, on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you're a German learner, or a Spanish learner, or an Italian learner on YouTube, and you're wondering, this is about French, where's the other language content for me? Then stay tuned. We will be running a Spanish Masterclass webinar a bit later today, and there will be lots more content coming soon for our other languages. So do let me know where you're watching. Do let me know how long you've been studying French for, because that is always useful to know. And most importantly, if you have any questions at any point, do let me know by posting the word question and then your question in the comments. That means I'll be able to see those comments very clearly, and hopefully we'll be able to understand or be able to answer rather your questions a little later. Let's have a look. We've got Sandra watching. Bonsoir, Sandra. We've got Zara. Bonjour, Zara. Jacqueline saying salut. Très bien. We've got Sandra watching in Aberdeen. We've got Karsten watching in Denmark. Brilliant. Tina is watching in Ottawa, Canada, and been learning French on and off for 30 years. Excellent. Mark's watching in Loughborough, la ville la plus imprononçable du monde. I hope I did a good job with that, Mark. We've got Remy in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Who else do we have? We've got Julia watching in Dubai. Mark is watching in Pézenas, in the south of France. Fantastic. Christina's been learning for 40 years and is watching in London. Kathy's in Vancouver, studying for a couple of years. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, Kathy, for watching and for listening. And Susie is listening from Windsor in Berkshire. I have been studying French on and off for maybe 10 years, not that you know it. I think one of the most important things is that we are using the French that we are learning. Whichever language indeed you're learning, the most important thing is that you actually use it. But using the language involves a little bit of a step for you. You've got to build up the confidence in order to use the language and get the most out of using that language. And sometimes one of the key things to give you that confidence is being able to say things correctly, is the knowledge that you can indeed say things correctly. And in a sense, that's one of the things that we're going to be focusing on today. Lots of you joining us. It's so great to see lots of you from all around the world. We can't unfortunately say everyone's name because that could be it could take up the whole evening. But let me just check that everything else is working here. I should be able to bring in my slides, and you should be able to see me down here too. And I think it looks good. I think we're ready to start. So let us take a look at what we're going to be covering today. First of all, we've done some introductions. We've said hello. We're going to be focusing on our lesson on indirect object pronouns, and then I'll be giving you a little bit of information about the masterclass afterwards. Okay, hopefully that all makes sense, and I think we are good to begin. So let's take a look at what we've got here. My first question, in a sense, is what is a pronoun? And it's not a real question. I don't want you to answer this in the comments or anything like that, but I want us to think about what a pronoun is. If we think of the word noun, a noun is a thing or a person or a feeling. It's something that you can put the in front of or a in front of. And if we're looking at a pronoun, well, a pronoun basically is something that stands for that noun. The word pro, or the prefix pro, means stands for. So it's standing for the noun. Perhaps this will make a little more sense if we look at a sentence in English. We've got Bob reads the letter to Sarah. So we've got three different nouns in here. We've got Bob. Okay, Bob is the subject of the sentence, the first noun that we come across. Then we have the letter. So Bob reads the letter. Now the letter is an object in this sentence. It's not the subject, it's the object that Bob is reading. So Bob reads the letter. And then we've got another noun, to Sarah. So Sarah is our third noun in this sentence. And Sarah is also a type of object. But, at least in this sentence, obviously, I mean, so we've got Bob as an object, a person, the letter, an object, and Sarah, I need to go back here because I'm confusing my objects and subjects here. Bob is, of course, the subject, okay? Bob is a noun and he's the subject of the sentence. The letter is an object in this sentence, and Sarah is another object in this sentence. But let's start to think about how we could begin to replace these. Let's think about how we would begin to replace Bob and then the letter and then Sarah, because we're going to replace each of these. We've talked about pronouns. Pronouns are standing for the noun. So if we begin by focusing on Bob, let's swap Bob for a pronoun. So we need to swap Bob for he, and he is the subject pronoun. Okay, so Bob is being replaced with he. Let's look at the next object that we're going to be replacing, the next noun that we're going to be replacing. And that next noun is our object, the letter. So if we replace the letter with a pronoun, we would replace it with it. So Bob reads it to Sarah. And then if we want to replace Sarah with another noun, with a pronoun, then we're going to replace to Sarah with to her. So we've got Bob reads the letter to her. So we've got the whole sentence. Bob reads the letter to Sarah. And if we replaced all three of those nouns with pronouns, we would get he reads it to her. So he there stands for Bob, it stands for the letter, and to her stands for to Sarah. So just let's focus on what these pronouns are. First of all, we've got he, which is the subject pronoun. It is the direct object pronoun, and to her is the indirect object pronoun. So the indirect object pronoun is when we've got a to someone or to something. That's when it becomes an indirect object pronoun. That's a little bit of a simplification of it there, but for this sentence, it's to her. That's our indirect object pronoun. Okay, so far so good. What I'd like you to do, if everything is making sense so far, can you put a 1 in the comments? Just type the number 1, and that means I know that everything is making sense to you and you're following what we're talking about here. So put a number 1 in the comments if you're understanding how we've replaced these nouns with pronouns in English. And then we'll move on to do this in French. If you found this difficult, then put a 2 or a 3. That gives, again, me an idea that everyone's following here. So far, I'm seeing ones. Good. That's good. So we've got he reads it to her. So subject pronoun he reads it, direct object pronoun, to her, the indirect object pronoun. Let's transform this into French, because what we have here is Bob lit la lettre à Sarah, or Sarah. So we've got the full sentence here. Bob lit la lettre à Sarah. And we're going to replace each part of this again with a pronoun. So first of all, let's add in our lui, because lui is the indirect object pronoun and it refers to à Sarah, so to her. But because we've got lui in there, we don't need à Sarah anymore. So à Sarah can go. We've got Bob, lui, lit la lettre. So lui means to her. Now it also means to him. Don't get confused with that. Lui can mean either to her or to him. Bob lui lit la lettre. Okay, so that's how we're replacing the indirect object pronoun. Let me just come back to our English sentence here a moment. He reads it to her, and we started, of course, with Bob reads the letter to Sarah. And for our French version, because we're focusing on indirect object pronouns, we're replacing only that indirect object pronoun. And that's why we're talking about Bob, lui, lit la lettre. And of course, we can get rid of à Sarah maintenant because, of course, lui replaces à Sarah. We're going to look at a couple of other examples here. Let's take another one. Here is Je donne le livre à Paul. So I give the book to Paul. Think about this for a moment. Where is our direct object here? What's our direct object? That would be le livre. Okay, it's the thing that I am giving to Paul. So je donne le livre à Paul. Now there's an à in here, a to. So that means we've got an indirect object here, and that's à Paul. So we're going to replace à Paul with an indirect object pronoun. And that's where we're going to use that same little word, lui, that we've just used. So we can add in lui before the verb. Je lui donne le livre. I, to him, give the book. We've already mentioned that we're giving it to him. We've spoken about Paul already. So we can get rid of Paul. Let's go. And now we've got je lui donne le livre. So we started with je donne le livre à Paul. And now we've removed à Paul. And we are putting in lui. Je lui donne le livre. Super. Okay, let's look at one further example here. J'ai dit la vérité à mes parents. I told the truth to my parents. To whom did I tell the truth? To my parents. To them. So this time we're not saying to him or to her. We're saying to them. And we need a different word here. It's no longer lui, but leur. So we're going to put leur in before our verb. So where is it going to go? Well, we've got j'ai dit. I have said, or I have told, or I told. So I told the truth to my parents. It's going in before the verb, and that means it goes in before our auxiliary verb too. So this becomes je leur ai dit la vérité. And of course, we no longer need à mes parents. So it can go, and we've got je leur ai dit la vérité. I told the truth to them. I told them the truth. Now, when I said that there, I told them the truth. This is where it gets a little difficult in English, because if we're thinking in English and we're thinking, I told them the truth, that them doesn't really have a to in there. But when you're telling someone something, you're saying it to them. So some verbs take an indirect object pronoun, or an indirect object anyway. So I told the truth to them. When we say it that way, you do need the to, but in English we can say I told them, or to them, the truth. So I told to them the truth. Je leur ai dit la vérité. And that's why we get this one. Je leur ai dit la vérité. Okay, so far, so good. Hopefully this all makes perfect sense. And we have seen some examples here. We've seen 3 examples in French based off an example in English. Now, again, what I'd like to know is all of this making sense so far? So let me know with a 1, hopefully, in the comments. If it's sounding a little bit tricky, then put a 2. If you're lost completely, put a 3. But again, it's good for me to see whether people are understanding this. And there are many of you watching. There are only over 100 people sitting watching a French lesson about indirect object pronouns right now. So that is fantastic. What we're going to do in just a moment is put some of this into context and listen to a conversation. And this is a conversation taken from our Masterclass course, and this will give you an opportunity to hear some of these indirect object pronouns in context. So we're going to listen to some French, and then we'll talk about what we hear. So I'm seeing some 1s, I'm seeing some 2s, I'm seeing some higher numbers as well. I hope it's not too complicated. If you are finding this too challenging, then make sure you go and check out our Coffee Break French Season 1 course, which will take you right back to the beginning of French and let you build really strong foundations. in French. Sakura is watching in Australia, and it must be very, very late or indeed early in the morning in Australia. Thank you for joining us. It's always great to have people from all over the world joining us. But as I say, I'm delighted to see lots of ones, a 1.5 from Daryl, and a couple of 2s as well. All good, all good. Let's then continue here with our next part of our list. We're going to be looking at a dialogue, and what we're going to do is listen to this dialogue without any script to begin with. So I'm going to play the dialogue, you're going to be listening to the dialogue. We'll not have any text on the screen, so you're just going to be listening to it, and I think it probably will be quite challenging first time through. But see if you can listen out and identify any of those indirect object pronouns, and we're only dealing with to him, to her, and to them at the moment. Okay, so we're being progressive here. We're starting just with lui and leur. Listen out for those ones and see how much of this dialogue you understand to begin with. There are 2 people involved in the dialogue, and in fact you're going to hear a little bit of the audio from one of our Masterclass lessons, and Geraldine and I will explain what's going on, so that should give you a little bit of context to begin with. Okay, so let me bring this back on the screen. No, not that. This one back on the screen. And we're going to listen to the dialogue for the first time. Let's take it away.
Alors Géraldine, tu peux nous expliquer notre premier dialogue?
Oui, alors dans ce premier dialogue, nous avons Norbert et Swazig.
Norbert et Swazig?
Swazig,
Swazig?
qui est un prénom breton.
Ah, un très joli prénom. Swazig. Ok.
Et Swazig a envie de voyager autour du monde, et elle en parle avec Norbert.
Très bien. Alors, nous allons commencer notre première lecture maintenant. Alors, tu as parlé à tes parents de ton projet de voyage autour du monde l'année prochaine?
Oui, je leur ai parlé de mon projet, mais mon père pense que ce n'est pas une bonne idée.
Attends, tu lui as dit que c'était une opportunité unique, une chance extraordinaire.
Oui, je lui ai dit tout ça, mais ils trouvent tous les deux que c'est trop dangereux. De plus, je leur avais promis de finir mes études avant de partir voyager.
Mais ce n'est pas dangereux du tout. Puis tu vas leur écrire souvent. Tu leur enverras des cartes postales de tous les pays du monde. Ce sera génial.
Tu ne veux pas venir à la maison leur dire tout ça?
Okay, now, I am sure as you were listening to that, that probably was pretty fast. It was quite a natural speed dialogue, and Geraldine and myself, we were speaking in normal speed, and again, it was probably quite fast. We're going to listen again, and this time I'm going to bring the words on the screen, so you'll be able to follow the dialogue as we go through. And this will help you, hopefully, you'll be able to understand a little more. And afterwards, we'll go through the full dialogue so that you're understanding exactly what is going on. But again, even if you're not understanding everything, see if you can listen out for those lui and leur, because there are quite a number of examples of these particular words in this dialogue. Let's listen again. And again, I'm going to bring the text on the screen. There we go. And we're going to listen again now.
Alors, tu as parlé à tes parents de ton projet de voyage autour du monde l'année prochaine?
Oui, je leur ai parlé de mon projet, mais mon père pense que ce n'est pas une bonne idée.
Attends, tu lui as dit que c'était une opportunité unique et une chance extraordinaire?
Oui, je lui ai dit tout ça. Mais ils trouvent tous les deux que c'est trop dangereux. De plus, je leur avais promis de finir mes études avant de partir voyager.
Mais ce n'est pas dangereux du tout. Puis tu vas leur écrire souvent. Tu leur enverras des cartes postales de tous les pays du monde. Ce sera génial.
Tu ne veux pas venir à la maison leur dire tout ça?
Okay, let's go through this. Apologies for the little echo at the beginning there. I forgot to switch off one of the inputs here, but hopefully you've been able to listen to this. So we've got 2 people here, Norbert and Swazig. And as Geraldine pointed out, it's a Breton name, Swazig. And so they're talking about their projects or their plans to travel around the world, hopefully post-COVID and everything. So Norbert begins by saying, alors, tu as parlé à tes parents de ton projet de voyage autour du monde l'année prochaine. So have you spoken to your parents about your project, your plan to travel around the world next year? And then Swazig responds by saying, oui, je leur ai parlé de mon projet. So we've got a leur in there. I, to them, have spoken of my project. Oui, je leur ai parlé de mon projet. Mais mon père pense que ce n'est pas une bonne idée. But my father thinks that it's not a good idea. Norbert goes on. Attends, tu lui as dit que c'était une opportunité unique et une chance extraordinaire. So, tu lui as dit. We're no longer talking about to both Swazig's parents, but to her father now. So it's lui, it's to him. Lui is, of course, our singular one that we use for to him or to her. So he's saying, attends, tu lui as dit que c'était une opportunité unique. So wait a minute, did you tell him that it was a unique opportunity? Et une chance extraordinaire. And an extraordinary opportunity, or a chance, an opportunity. And Swazig responds by saying, oui, oui, je lui ai dit tout ça. Yeah, I told him everything. I told him all of that. Mais ils trouvent tous les deux. Now she's going back to il plural here. Ils trouvent tous les deux. They both find que c'est trop dangereux. That it's too dangerous. De plus, je leur avais promis de finir mes études avant de partir voyager. So, de plus, what's more, je leur avais promis. So, I promised to them, because we're talking about both parents here, je leur avais promis, I promised to them, de finir mes études, to finish my studies, avant de partir voyager, before leaving to travel. So Norbert responds to this by saying, mais ce n'est pas dangereux du tout, but it's not dangerous at all. Puis, tu vas leur écrire souvent, and then you're going to write to them often. So let's just look at that more carefully. Tu vas leur écrire souvent. You are going to them to write often. Okay, so our word order in English is different from the word order in French, obviously. Puis tu vas leur écrire souvent. Then you're going to write to them often. Tu leur enverras des cartes postales. You will send to them some postcards de tous les pays du monde, from all the countries of the world. Ce sera génial. It will be fantastic. So we've got another leur in there. And Swazig, who's probably finding it difficult to convince her parents, suggests to Norbert, tu ne vas pas venir à la maison leur dire tout ça? Do you not want to come to the house and tell them all of that? So she thinks that Norbert might be able to convince her parents that it's a great idea that she goes around the world. Now, let's just focus on one thing here. We've seen these lui, to him or to her, and we've seen leur, to them. One thing I want to make absolutely certain is the fact that leur, L-E-U-R, to them, does not have an S on the end. Okay? There is a word, L-E-U-R-S, but that means something different. It's a different type of word. So, les leurs, theirs, it's a disjunctive pronoun. It can be another kind of pronoun, but we're not focusing on that just now. We're focusing on our indirect object pronoun. And when leur is an indirect object pronoun, it means to them, and it does not have an S on the end. Voila. Okay, so how did you find that? Hopefully it made more sense when we saw the transcript, and hopefully now we're getting used to seeing these lui and leur. I'd love to see your comments. Let me know if you found this a useful mini lesson that we've been looking at lui and leur, and let me know what you thought of the dialogue. Did the dialogue make more sense when you saw it, or were you quite happy with listening without the transcript? It's very useful to me to see how you've found this, so do let me know in the comments. Muzamil is asking, dialogue 4, il trouve, or il trouve, Ah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, good question, Muzamil. Swazig says, yeah, je lui ai dit tout ça. I told him all of that. Mais il trouve tous les deux. So the key thing here is tous les deux. So when Swazig says il trouve tous les deux, because tous les deux means all the two or both of them, then that's because we need the plural verb. Il trouve, I-L-S-T-R-O-U-V-E-N-T. I'm just going to put this, I think I can do this. Il trouve, voilà. So il trouve tous les deux. It is a plural verb because we've got tous les deux afterwards. Both of them. Il trouve tous les deux. Okay, so let's see what you're saying. Hope is saying, this was great. It really helped to see it on the screen for me. Très bien. Jennifer, it's helpful to see the dialogue after listening once. I always think it's useful to try to listen without the dialogue. Let's face it, in real life, people don't come with subtitles. We have to understand what people say. So it is useful listening, challenging yourself to listen. Anna Karin is saying useful with the written dialogue. Thank you, Anna Karin. And Gayatri is asking, does lui work for to it as well? Absolutely, it does. So lui can mean to him, to her, to it. It's the singular form there, the third person singular within our indirect object pronouns. Jacqueline's given us a great summary here. Listening French, 3. Reading, 1.5. Understanding leur and lui, a 1. Fantastic, okay. Kathy's saying, understood most without the dialogue, très bien, but seeing it helped me with the little parts I've missed. Okay, so Sakura is saying, if this is the structure for the masterclass, I can join. Yay, excellent. Karen's having a problem with her internet. Can I watch it again? Yes, you can indeed. It will be available both on Facebook and on YouTube afterwards. Now, as I explained, this is part of our masterclass. This is an example of the kind of content that we have in our masterclass. Just before we get to that, we're going to do some review of lui and leur, because within the masterclass, we have audio lessons like what you've been listening to. You would have the transcript that you can work through. And a crucial part of the masterclass at the end of every month is the consolidation time. So our masterclass runs the first half of the month with 5 lessons, and then the second half of the month is all about consolidation. And one of the things we do then is provide you with a video review that goes through all of the things that you've learned in the month with a checklist that you can actually tick off to see what you've learned. So let's do a little bit of review now based on what we've just learned. First of all, indirect object pronouns, their purpose is to replace nouns in order to avoid repetition. Because if we had said, I gave the letter to Bob, I gave to him the letter. If we just mentioned Bob, for example, Bob arrived yesterday. I gave Bob the letter. Bob thought the letter was very interesting. I took the letter back from Bob. There's too much Bob in there, so we can replace it with him or to him. So we've got je donne le livre à Paul, I give the book to Paul, and that becomes je lui donne le livre. Our indirect object pronouns, the ones that we've been focusing on are lui and leur, but there are actually a full set of indirect object pronouns, me, te, lui, nous, vous, leur. And in the masterclass lessons, we'd go through all of those. But only the third person singular and plural differ from direct object pronouns. Again, all of this is explained within the module on pronouns in the masterclass. Lui can mean to him or to her, and as we pointed out, Gayatri, to it. Leur can refer to a group of males, females, or a mixed group. And leur never changes. This is really crucial. It never changes when it's used as an indirect object pronoun. So in English, we've got I sent him a letter. And in French, it's I to him send a letter. So that to in there is important because we have to kind of rework it a little in French in order to make it make sense. So in French, you often need to add this extra to in there. And there are some verbs like envoyer, to send, dire, to say, and donner, to give, which need an indirect object. Even if in English we don't say, I give to him the letter, we can just say, I give him the letter. Hopefully, all of this makes sense. I love Catherine's comments here. We are listening while on holiday in France, glass of rosé in hand, and all makes sense. Everything makes sense with a glass of rosé in hand, I think, Catherine. That's fantastic. Enjoy your holiday. Bonnes vacances. Okay, right. Let us move on because I want to take things a little bit further and explain a little more about the masterclass. Because, as I say, this masterclass will be starting actually tomorrow. It's a set of monthly modules that run all the way through from September through to February 22, short regular sessions, and they're self-access sessions, so you'll be able to work your way through the sessions yourself whenever it suits you. They're audio sessions, so you can take them out on a run or a walk with the dog or in the car or whatever. And it's very much structured learning. So everything that we cover in one lesson is picked up in a future lesson. And we very much like to reinforce the idea of progressive learning. The content, as I said, is made up of audio, text, and video review. But it's all still coffee break style, so 20-minute sessions. And if you've got 20 minutes, maybe 3, 4, 5 times a week, then you'll have enough time to complete the masterclass. As I said, there are 6 modules. In September, we're looking at tricky verbs, so we'll be looking at different types of verbs which may seem relatively straightforward on the outside, but when you get into them that little bit more, they can be a bit challenging. In October, we're focusing on pronouns, so you've had a little sneak preview of that today. In November, we're looking at false friends. We take a step away from grammar in Module 3 and looking at false friends, which are those words which you perhaps think you know what they mean, but then you realise actually they mean something completely different. So we've got a nice module on vocabulary. But again, getting back to that idea of structure and progression, you'll find that in the false friends conversations, you'll be seeing some of those tricky verbs that you learned in Module 1 and the pronouns that you learned in Module 2. So it's all sewn together very neatly so that you are able to pick up on lots of what we've previously covered. In Module 4 in December, we're going to be doing some tense mastery. So we'll be looking at the perfect tense, the imperfect tense, the future tense, the conditional, and I think maybe the pluperfect. I can't quite remember off the top of my head right now. And then in January, it's a new year, so we're ready to deal with the subjunctive, and we'll be looking at subjunctive triggers and how to use the subjunctive, how to form it. And then perhaps one of the most popular modules of the masterclass is on February, which will be how to sound more French. And that is always a great module because we're really focusing on how to develop our French and make you sound more natural and more like a native, basically. So that is our 6-module course, and just to give you an idea of how the schedule works, basically, as I said, this all starts tomorrow. So your first lesson would start tomorrow if this is something that interests you. And we do a lesson every few days, so a lesson on the 1st, and then another lesson on Saturday the 4th, and then another lesson on the 8th. So that's 1, 2, 3 lessons so far. And then we take a little break with an exercise on the 11th, so a week on Saturday. And then we're back to 2 more lessons on the 15th and the 18th, and that completes the actual lessons of the Masterclass Module 1. However, as I explained earlier, there's much more to it. It's all about the consolidation that comes afterwards. And that consolidation helps you build on what you've learned and really make that firm foundation in order to build further in the future modules. So we start with a video review that we'll release on the 22nd. And then on the 25th, you get your module test. Now, obviously, this is optional. You can take it whenever you like, and that's really crucial with all of these lessons. They all happen when you want them to happen. These are not scheduled live sessions like this. We will be doing some kind of live sessions during the full masterclass session, but these modules are much more self-access so that you can work your way through them whenever it suits you best. In every masterclass that we run, we have students from all over the world, and it's very difficult to identify the perfect time. As one of our viewers is watching in the middle of the night in Australia, it's difficult to choose the perfect time that suits people from all over the world. So that's why we make things self-access. You can work through it as and when you want. And of course, there's a crucial element here, and that's the support that we provide you. Sakura is asking, will you be providing answers for the test? Yes, absolutely. The test is something that you do yourself, and then we will provide the answers, and you can work your way through the answers, checking where you went wrong. Okay, let's look at our target audience. Who is this aimed at? Well, if we take a quick summary of where our Coffee Break French standard seasons come. So season 1 is all about absolute beginner content, transactional language, using French that you would need when you're traveling and so on, and a basic introduction to grammar. In season 2, where we build understanding, we help you develop a sense of the patterns of the language. You'll be learning the present, the perfect, the imperfect in season 2. If you've been working on season 3, then you know that it's all about taking French further. You're looking at more complex language. You're looking at more tricky grammar and more tenses. And then season 4 is about advanced understanding, complex grammar, idiomatic expressions. So these are our 4 standard seasons of Coffee Break French, and many of you will have been working through the podcasts or working through our courses on the Coffee Break Academy at these levels. We also have an advanced level, that's La Vérité éclate toujours, our novel-based course, and that's at a very advanced level, a C1 level. But these levels here, if we look at the European Framework of Reference, many of you will be familiar with that. Let me see if I can bring this in. Oh, these are coming back in again. So our European Framework of Reference, you'll be familiar with A1. Oh, sorry, this is going a little bit funny. Let me see. There we go. So season 1 would be A1 content, season 2 will be A2, B1 content, season 3, B1, B2, and season 4, B2, C1. So based on that, where does the Masterclass fit in? Well, the Masterclass is around about season 3 and beyond. So season 3 and onwards from there. Now, one thing that's important to say is that Season 3 is a fantastic course. It's all about stories, and you're following the story of Alf and Veronica and Katie as they study French in the south of France. But the grammar that comes up in that course is based on what they're saying. It's not specifically written to, okay, let's look at indirect object pronouns. It's absolutely not like that. It's real French that you can understand and you can build your vocabulary with. But with the Masterclass, what we try to do is go the opposite direction. So we're looking at, as we say, indirect object pronouns or a particular verb or the imperfect tense or something like that. And we're focusing on that grammar topic. And the conversations that you're reading, the authentic conversations, these help you understand that content in context. So you're understanding the grammar points in context. So it actually fits very well with season 3 in the sense that it goes the opposite way. Season 3 starts from the texts and you'll learn what's in the texts. The Masterclass starts from the concepts, and then the texts and the conversations give you examples of those contexts. Hopefully that makes sense. Basically, to kind of summarize all of this, if you've completed season 2 or the equivalent, if you're working on, or if you've completed season 3 already, if you're working at B1, B2 level of the Common European Framework of Reference, or if you've not yet started season 4, then the Masterclass will be perfect for you. Some learners who take the Masterclass actually have started season 4. I would say if you've completely gone all the way through season 4 and you're very comfortable with that kind of language, then probably the Masterclass is not quite for you, in the sense that you've maybe gone beyond some of the content that we'll be covering in the Masterclass. But if you're at that intermediate level, that B1, B2 level, then the Masterclass will be perfect for you. Okay, let's deal with a very important aspect of this. What is the cost of the Masterclass? So let me break this down, because on a monthly basis, what you get access to are the following things. So 5 lessons per month. You've got the bonus activities that come along at the end of the month. You've got the module test. You've got, that didn't work there. There we go. Email check-ins. So we'll be checking in regularly with you by email to let you know that there's a new lesson available. And a crucial element that I've not even spoken about yet on the Masterclass is this guaranteed feedback. So for every lesson, you're assigned a homework task. And that homework task isn't an onerous thing. It may be write a few sentences using the topic that you've been working on. But when you post your homework in the Coffee Break Academy, we will be correcting your homework and helping you tidy up things, maybe make some changes so that your writing is perfect. And that is really important because it's a shared corrections. Basically, we're going to be correcting you, but you'll also see everyone else's corrections. So that means that everyone is learning together, and you will be able to read all of the feedback that every other student on the masterclass is getting. And it's a fantastic way to learn from the group. You'll be learning as part of a group. So that masterclass feedback is ultra important. You also get a course certificate at the end of the masterclass stating that you have now completed the Coffee Break French masterclass. So on a monthly basis for all of this, the cost is £55.20 in the UK. That's including VAT. Excluding VAT, it would be £46. And looking at that on a US dollar price, that would be $63 excluding VAT. So that's US dollars. You can pay in pound sterling or in US dollars. And I realise that some locations now add digital tax for digital products, but the crucial thing is whatever price it shows before you actually click the checkout button, that is the price that you will pay. So there's no additional added fees on or anything like that. So when we post the link, go to the link in the Coffee Break Academy and you'll see exactly the price that you would pay on a monthly basis. And another important thing to say, this is a monthly basis for 6 months. You pay each one of the 6 months. It's a payment plan, so you can't pay 1 month and then decide, no, I don't want to do this anymore. It's a payment plan. You're committed for the 6 months when you join, and you pay that for 6 months, but then of course you don't pay any more after that. But you still get to have all the access to all of the materials and all of the discussions. After the 6 months, we won't be answering your queries and giving you feedback on your homework and so on. But for the 6 months during that, of course, we'll be doing that. Now, alternatively, you could choose to pay a one-off fee, and for that you get 1 month free. So that means it would be £276 including VAT in the UK, or $230 excluding VAT, $315 in the US, again excluding VAT. And again, just have a look on the Coffee Break Academy for the exact costs based on your location with any potential taxes added. Okay. Time is marching on. I am hopefully going to, well, I will have time to answer your questions, but just before we get to there, let me share some testimonials from previous students who have gone through the masterclass. We've actually had over 1,000 students gone through the masterclass over the past few years. So what Christine is saying, the bite-sized lessons ensured that I was able to memorise the vocabulary without being overwhelmed or pressurised. I like the compartmentalisation of the content. I think I benefited most from the easy way that the subjunctive was taught, although I'm delighted with how often everything that I learned has come up in my reading and listening. So that's fantastic to hear when all of what you're learning is coming up in the other reading and listening that you're doing. Caroline said, this is a terrific program. I can work at my own pace. I'm always learning something new. I enjoy being connected with a community of learners and I profit from the feedback. The content is logical and sequential. Each lesson builds upon and reinforces the last. The videos and checklists are very helpful, as are the quizzes. Fantastic. So that again is reinforcing this idea that the learning is progressive. We're building on what has gone before. So thanks, Caroline, for that. One more. Let's look at Barbara. Barbara says, I felt I was not ready to join Coffee Break French Masterclass with my beginning level of French and was a bit intimidated. However, I was eager to learn and give it a try anyway, and I'm very happy I did. I've learned so much in these few months from the course, the Masterclass team, as well as the other members. The course is at a doable pace, the content is relevant, and I enjoy listening to the spoken French. So there you have it. Let's finally focus on one thing. Registration is open now. So you can sign up for the masterclass right now. The course begins tomorrow, so you'll get your first lesson tomorrow morning and you'll be able to start working on that straight away. And registration closes on the 5th of September or when the class is full. It is a limited number of people going into this class. We limit it so that we can cope with the feedback and so on. So it is a case of if you do want to take part, then you really do need to get signed up soon. Indeed, get signed up like Leslie has just done. Thank you, Leslie. We're delighted to see that you're in and you're all paid up and keen to get started. Thank you so much. Merci infiniment. We'll be looking forward to working with you. Okay, what I've got to explain now is the fact that in 13 minutes' time, I'm going to be doing all of this all over again in Spanish, because our Spanish masterclass starts tomorrow as well. But we do have some time for some questions, and I know that many of you have been posting some questions, and I'm very happy to answer these questions now. So Hope's asking, for the masterclass, will you be doing live sessions like this? So as I explained, the live sessions, we will be doing some live sessions, but they're not a core feature of the masterclass, because we want it to be self-access, because we want you to be able to work at it at your own pace and your own time, very much what we've always done with Coffee Break. So hopefully that answers your question. Again, we will be doing some live sessions during the course of the 6 months. Right, let's have a look. Ailsa's saying, looks good, but not at that stage yet. Hope it goes well. Merci beaucoup, Ailsa. What I would say is that this year's masterclass is starting tomorrow, but we will be running this again next year. And it's very important that if you feel that you're not quite ready for it now, this will not be going anywhere. It will be available next year. If you feel you are ready for it now, then it's the perfect time to sign up. We don't want just to pull everyone in and to take your money and then not worry about what level you're at. We want you to be to feel that this is right for you. Gary's got a very good question here. How much time per week on average do you need to dedicate to the masterclass? So, as I said, if you're just doing the lessons, if you're just using the audio and video and text materials, then if you've got 20 minutes 3 or 4 times a week, that would be enough to get through the lessons and do your homework and that kind of thing. However, many masterclass students do like to read everything that everyone else has submitted for their homework and all of the feedback too. And that obviously takes a little bit more of your time. So it's optional. You can spend a little longer on it. You can, of course, use the materials and listen again. Many people will, for example, take the audio out for a walk and listen to the lesson while they're out on a walk, and then listen again with the notes when they're back home. And that way you're doing the lesson twice, you're hearing it again, you're using the content over again to focus on the learning. Hopefully that answers Gary's question. Jacqueline saying, not at that level yet, but it's good to know you have this when I'm ready. Of course, if you're not quite at that level yet, do check out the Coffee Break Academy for all our other courses, where we'll be offering additional materials for all of the podcast courses that we run. Mark is saying, will there be an Italian masterclass? Not quite yet. We've not worked on an Italian masterclass. However, we do have new Italian content coming soon. So Mark, if you're an Italian learner, stick around. We've got some exciting announcements coming soon. Sakura, although I'm A2, I'm feeling very motivated and I am buying the course. Thanks and good night. Merci beaucoup, Sakura. Thank you so much. And yes, sleep well. And we're looking forward to having you in the masterclass. Kevin is saying, is there any opportunity to improve practice as a spoken French, for example, in Sound More French? Feel like my reading, writing is far ahead of my speaking. Okay, so in this session of the masterclass, that's not something that we are going to be doing like one-on-one speaking practice or anything. Indeed, it's probably something that wouldn't be able to be done based on the cost of the masterclass, because if we're doing one-on-one sessions, then that is very expensive. And we wouldn't be able to do that on the basis of this. However, it is something that we're looking at. And we could potentially look at some trials of that during our masterclass sessions. But I want to be clear that that's not a core function of the masterclass. The core function of the masterclass is to provide you with the self-access materials and to provide you all with that feedback on all of those activities. And Kathy's comment is following up on that. In the future, can there be Zoom meetings or equivalent where students could choose to join and speak in French? Again, it's so difficult to organise these across the world at any given time. And to have the sessions be valuable for each individual participant, we can't have too many people in those kind of sessions. However, we are looking at a number of possible solutions for that in the future, and that might be something that we could add on at a later date. Okay, I hope that this has all been useful and that you are able to to consider joining the Masterclass. The Masterclass link, I think the team will post that in the chat, so you'll be able to sign up for the Masterclass there, and we'll also put it in the description of this video. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really hope more than anything else that you now feel a little more confident with your indirect object pronouns. And just on that basis, what I would love to do, I would love to see is if you can let me know in the comments if you've learned something today. Let me know simply by saying yes or Y for yes or something like that, because it's always good to know that every single thing that you do takes you forward a little bit. And that's exactly what we do with all our content, be that our main podcasts, our courses, or indeed the Masterclass. Every little coffee break will take you that bit further. Merci beaucoup, comme d'habitude. Je suis très content d'avoir passé ce petit moment avec vous et j'espère vous voir très bientôt. I am delighted to see some yeses in the comments. Thank you all very much indeed. If you are a Spanish learner, stick around because we're just about to do this in Spanish at 8 o'clock UK time, and we're looking at the imperfect tense. But for now, merci beaucoup et à la prochaine. Let me see if I can find my right button here. Thank you very much. Merci et à très bientôt. Au revoir.